first person we're going to introduce today is a person who is really a legend in the internet marketing and copywriting arenas. And the reason is because he's fantastic at what he does. He knows exactly what he's doing. And that's very important. And also, he can teach you how to do it. I mean, it's one thing for him to know it, but it's another thing for you to know how to do it, right? Well, today, Carl Galletti is going to teach you everything there is to know about internet marketing, copywriting. He's going to throw in a lot of different things. And I can tell you what, this presentation is brand new. I don't think anyone's ever seen this before. And so you're going to be really excited to welcome Carl Galletti to the stage.
Well, people on the internet aren't going to stay long on your website unless something grabs them. And there are techniques that we've developed in mail order which grab a reader's attention, and just this field of advertising in general. One thing I want to say about advertising is some people may say, oh, I don't advertise. There are enough free ways to get business. I don't advertise. Don't fool yourself. Everything's an advertisement. We're all selling something. Even if you don't pay for the advertising, it's advertising. Whenever you're trying to convince someone to do something, to whatever it is, to do something, anything, it's that general, you're in essence needing to use the techniques we use in advertising. So what copywriting is about is it's not about writing. It's not about being an English major and knowing how to write properly. That's not what it's about. What it is about is selling. Okay? The purpose of selling, okay, is to get the prospect to understand that the product or service will solve their problems. That's what your challenge is. Okay, what I want you to do is get your piece of paper out, something that you can write, and I'm going to dictate. I'm not going to dictate the whole thing to you. I'll just read this to you. You weren't going to read it off anyway, but I wanted to have it up, and we'll need the other things. So I'm going to read this to you. This is an exercise that you really ought to do. Get good ads, sales letters, websites that you know work. And this is a training exercise. It will help you to write better. And the more you do this exercise, the better you will get at writing. All right? I just took an ad called The Lazy Man's Way to Riches. And just as a note, Joe Carbo, who wrote this book, was a multimillionaire. He sold 3 million copies of this book. Everyone at the time thought that he made his money by selling 3 million copies of The Lazy Man's Way to Riches. It's a classic. People have recommended for many, many years. The truth of the matter is that he made his millions before he wrote the book. And probably as a result of what he took was the essence of how he was able to be so successful he put into the book. This is also considered to be one of the most successful ads. At $10 a book times 3 million is $30 million, and those are in pre-1970 or around $1973, so mid-1970 which is worth more than today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it to you, but what you would do is you would take this and you would write out the ad. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at writing. You could take other ads. I have examples in here of other ads that you can use. And some are The Lazy Man's Way to Riches. And by the way, it's being relaunched, and Brett has them back there if you're interested. If you've never read this book, definitely read this book. It's two halves. Personal growth is the first part, and mail order is the second part. We're doing a 30th anniversary issue this year. Is the 30th year of its publication. It's actually been out of print for the past 5 years. And I'm actually putting together with the guy who owns this, Richard Nixon, the third or the 30th anniversary issue. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a third section, add it to the original, and it's going to be on internet marketing and things that are up to date and current. So I suggest getting the book, though, because you want to be ready for this. Okay, so enough said. Ready for writing exercise, okay? The Lazy Man's Way to Riches. And while I'm saying this, and while you're writing this, I want you to really tune in to what is being said here. There's a kind of a rhythm to it that you really need to catch on to. Most people are too busy earning a living to make any money. I used to work hard, the 18-hour days, the 7-day weeks. New paragraph. But I didn't start making big money until I did less. A lot less. New paragraph. For example, this ad took about 2 hours to write. With a little luck, comma, it should earn me $50,000, maybe $100,000. New paragraph. What's more, I'm going to ask you to send me $10 for something that'll cost me no more than 50 cents. And I'll try to make it so irresistible that you'd be a darned fool not to do it. Okay. That's all we're going to do for that one. And I just want to do this. There's several different versions in here, and I want you to do this one. We're just going to do a few sentences from it because I think the opening sentences are very important. Here's another version he did. Okay. You think you've got problems? Question mark. Well, I remember when a bank turned me down for a $200 loan. Now I lend money to the bank. Certificates of deposit at $100,000 a crack. Okay, you can stop writing now. Part of this writing exercise is for you to get the rhythm of how he writes and how it sounds, the rhythm of something that's successful. Now what I want you to do is to just listen to me. I'm going to recite just about another paragraph or so, just so you kind of can hear it. Okay? I remember the day a car dealer got a little nervous because I was a couple of months behind in my payments and requested my car. Now I own a Rolls Royce. I paid $43,000 for it. Oh, how wondrous those $1973 were. Cash. I remember the day my wife phoned me crying because the landlord had shown up at the house demanding his rent, and we didn't have the money to pay it. Now we own 5 homes. 2 are on the ocean front in California. I use one as an office. One is a lakefront cabin in Washington. That's where we spend the whole summer, loafing, fishing, swimming, and sailing. One is a condominium on a sunny beach in Mexico. And one is snuggled right on the best beach of the best island in Hawaii, Maui. Right now, I could sell all this property, pay off all the mortgages, and without touching any of my other investments, walk away with over $750,000 in cash. But I don't want to sell because I don't think of my homes as investments. I've got other real estate and stocks, bonds, and cash in the bank for that, etc., etc., etc. One of the things that we know in copywriting is that people who are successful have kind of put a footprint there. And if you model the footprint, then you kind of pick up some of that. So the exercise here is what I've given you is a whole bunch of really good ads and things that have worked. So study them. It's an invaluable source. And study good copy. Here's another thing you need to know. Acquiring the first sale is 4 to 5 times more expensive than subsequent sales. That's a little fact you really ought to take into consideration. The reason, what it basically means is that you need to concentrate on selling something more than the first sale to somebody. Okay? There's something behind that. And there's another fact that you need to know. It's 80% of all major sales occur on or after 7 or 8 contacts. This was documented by Fortune magazine. What does all this stuff mean? Well, this is where we get to this guy over here, so we kind of backtracked a little. This is the reader's attitude, right? And what it means is we need to build long-term relationships with the customers. You need to build long-term relationships with your customers. The reason is because you can't exist in business unless you build a long-term relationship. It's about relationships. Selling and advertising is the same as any other relationship. And those are the dynamics we need to deal with. The only way to do that, to build a relationship, is to gain someone's trust. If someone doesn't believe what you're saying in your advertising, they're not buying from you, right? That's the basic thing. In fact, of all in business, you know how to make money in any business? Have integrity, because it's so darn rare that you'll stand out from the crowd. People go to businesses with integrity because they can't find anybody else they can trust. You know, and if you just have integrity, you're going to stand out amongst all the. And on the internet, it's so much easier to do that because there are a whole slew of people you can't trust on the internet. You know, and if you just build that up, people will start flocking to you because it's so darn hard to find someone who they can trust. And the people you find here speaking, I think the people you're going to be mixing with, for the most part, are going to be like that. Always be cautious, of course, but find people you can trust, find businesses you can trust, and be a business you can trust. It doesn't matter what business you're in. Here's just a little technique we're going to throw in here. You need to know, because how are you going to build a relationship with your customer if you don't know how to contact a customer? I've seen so many websites where you go to the website, you can download something for free, you can look at something for free. They never get your email address. Those are not the successful websites. You must get their email address, and you must get an accurate one. Okay? And the only way to do that is to say, look, if you want this free thing, I'll give it to you. It's valuable. Just give me your email address. I won't give it to anyone else, but I want to be able to communicate with you in the future. Okay? I'm not a one-night stand. I'm here for the duration, and I want to build a relationship with you. I've got something valuable to tell you. So you do that so you can contact them enough times so you can get across to them that what you have to offer is what they need and want to solve their problems. And that's basically it. That's why we have autoresponders. Does everybody know what an autoresponder is? If you don't, raise your hand. I'm sorry. Does everyone know what a follow-up autoresponder is? If you don't, raise your hand. Okay, follow-up autoresponder is, autoresponder is something that you send a message to, and the computer automatically sends you a pre-programmed reply. It's kind of like getting a form letter in return. What a follow-up or sequential autoresponder does is it's pre-programmed with a series of messages and how many days after the first one to send out the other messages. So it does it all for you automatically. But you have to write the messages. It doesn't magically occur. You don't magically get sales because you got an autoresponder. You don't magically get sales because it sends them every so often. You've got to put the words in them that make the sale. And that's what copy's about. This is James Webb Young. Anybody know who he is? Raise your hand. Okay, nobody knows who he is. Everybody know who David Ogilvy is? Okay. David Ogilvy said that James Webb Young was one of the best copywriters of all time. Okay? And he worked for one of the big ad agencies in New York City, and he was, unlike a lot of them, he was really good at writing copy. And he kept a diary in the 40s, and one day he wrote this in his diary. He wrote, "Every type of advertiser has the same problem, to be believed. That is your number one problem, even on websites. And the mail order man knows nothing so potent for this purpose as the testimonial." Has anybody ever seen any good, successful websites? Raise your hand. Of course you have, right? They have testimonials on them? Of course. And Joe Vitale's testimonial is usually the top one on every one of them, right? Okay, that's what you need. You need to get people who are going to stand up for you and say, this is a good product. And it helps if they're known for their integrity, because that's going to help your integrity. It kind of rubs off, you know. But it could be just the customer as well. So testimonial is an extremely important part. Here's a book. Who has this book, The Truth? Yeah. Anybody who doesn't have this book needs to get this book. Okay? This, if there was an Academy Award for ebooks, this would get my vote for the best ebook of the year. It just came out. It has wondrous things, but one of the things that you can really learn from it is how to credential yourself, how to build your proof that what you do is real. Okay? And if you go to that website there, it'll get you there, truth.ims4.com. And no WWs in front of it. Won't work if you put W's in front of it. Okay, The Whole Truth by Stephen Pierce. There are a lot of reasons why you should get that. The one is what I talked about. The other one is it's got a way in there to build your web pages so that you shoot up Google. And so not too many of you people should buy it. And if you do, then don't implement those web pages because it's more competition for the rest of us. Okay, so here's another thing you need to know is when you're writing, start with your offer. A lot of people say start with your headline. It's because the headline is considered to be one of the most important things. We're going to get to that in a second. However, what I find is that you need to start with your offer. So what are you going to offer these people? Who are you going to offer it to? You need to, the offer considers your marketplace. And here's what an offer consists of. A statement of value, what it's worth. Not how much you pay for it, but what it's worth. Okay? And then how much is it? How much are you going to charge me for this? A lot of people hide the price in their order form. They never tell you the price, so you have to click on it to find out what the price is. I'd rather not do that. I'd rather tell them up front, here's the price, because what I want to do immediately thereafter is I want to tell them why this is the cheap price. I want to substantiate the price. I want to tell them, number one, it's got a much higher value, because if compared to blah, 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 you would have to pay a lot more money if you went here, here, and here, and went to blah, 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 and it's called substantiating the price. And the other thing is you want to tell them what the bonuses are in your offer, because you want to put bonuses on. That works really well. And then you want to tell them, this is another thing, Robert Collier, who was a fantastic copywriter, always used to put in a penalty if you didn't act. And we all know that if the most successful websites tend to put in some time limit or a penalty if you don't act. The reason they do that is because once you get the person through to the selling point, they've invested a lot of time, you've invested a lot of time in them. If they put it down, they're going to start forgetting all the reasons why they should buy this. Okay, so any delay decreases sales. So you don't want to delay, you want to have some mechanism. Any delay on making the decision decreases response. It's very clear. If you say, listen, this is an offer, I've got it, it's going to be available for forever, then the person's going to say, oh, well, that's nice. Well, then why should I buy it? No, it's a good thing. I'll put it down. Look, I've got other things to pay for. Next week I'll have more money. Next week I'll get my paycheck. I'll buy it then because I need to go to the movies tonight or whatever. Any delay will decrease your response substantially. And if you test the thing, you'll find it's the difference between success and failure. Okay, so headline can boost the response of your website up to 1,950%. This is documented proof, not on websites, but with a headline. Change a headline, and it's been documented you can get as much as a 1,950% increase in sales, which means that if your website's doing $100 a week and you change it to a headline or you change something on there that increases the response by that much, it'll be making $1,950 a week. That's a big difference. That just shows you the potential of what you can do with things like a headline and different copy. Okay? So headlines, David Ogilvy said that on the average, 5 times as many people read the headlines as read the body copy. So that's, you know why? You know what headlines are all about? When people read newspapers, and this is even in the days when newspapers were emerging, they got bigger and bigger and bigger. At first, the newspaper was one sheet. You could read the whole newspaper. But then when it got to 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 sheets, you couldn't read the whole newspaper. You had to have some way of selecting what you wanted to read and what you wanted to bypass. The headline was invented to be able to pick out what you want to read and what you don't want to read. We all use it. It's a standard thing. And David Ogilvy did a research on this and found this fact out, that 5 times more people read that headline, which means that you have the opportunity. Now, that's just an average. It doesn't mean that that 5 times more people will read your headline than body copy. It means that those people are going to pass by. The better your headline is, the more people who read that headline are going to read your body copy, because the headline is the thing that gets them to read the next thing. Okay? He also said on the average, ads with news are recalled by 22% more people than ads without news, because we're all looking for something new, right? And he said that the offer the reader helpful information attracts above average readership. People like helpful information. He also found that putting quotes around your headline increased the recall by an average 28%. And if it increases the recall, then chances are it might increase your response. It'll increase the number of people who actually read more or remember your product, etc. Headlines, more than anything else, decide the success or failure of an advertisement. Translate that into website and shows you why you need to have headlines. Another thing about websites and advertising in general is that photographs sell more than illustrations. And the reason they do is because they're more realistic. They're more believable. You can't fake a photograph as easily as you could fake an illustration. And it's much harder to do. So, everyone's said, how long should copy be? And there's an ad in here in your group called "What Everybody Ought to Know About the Stock and Bond Business." It's a classic ad. It appeared in the New York Times. It's a full-page ad. It had 6,450 words in it, and it got 10,000 responses. It was only in one time. It got 10,000 responses, and as you can see, there's no coupon there, and the offer for the brochure that people wrote for, 10,000 people requested, is buried in the copy sometime. Look how small that print is. Of course, it was a newspaper ad, so it was bigger than this, but nevertheless, that's still small print. If you have something interesting to say, people will read it. How long should your website be? How long should your website copy be? Long as say that. As long as it needs to be to get the job done. Right. Okay. Here's another little trick that a lot of people don't do. I teach a lot of people how to write copy. I've been doing this for 11 years. This is probably the number one thing, is they don't put their most important thing first. Bring out your big guns first. Because if they don't get convinced by the best thing you have to say up front, they're not going to be convinced if you put it later. You're going to lose them. They're never going to get to that. If you have something that's convincing to say, and it's halfway through your copy, what you put before it is less convincing, and you'll lose the person. They'll never get to what's real convincing. Put the convincing stuff at first, and that will create the fuel to get them, and they'll read the other stuff more easily. Very important. We're also going to discuss what's the difference between internet copy on your website and regular copy. Well, there's so many things that are the same, okay, that you really need to, you could learn how to write mail order copy, other direct response copy, and you'd have really most of what you need to know to write web copy. But we're going to discuss some differences. The headline, people think a headline is, a thing you see in a newspaper, and it is. The reason it's a headline, remember the definition, is because people use it to pick out whether they want to read anything more that you've got to say. Well, if it's a direct mail sales letter, and you write something on the outside of the envelope, guess what? That's your headline. It's your first contact. It's the thing the person uses to decide whether they're going to read anything more. So if you put a headline inside the envelope and copy on the outside, we call it teaser copy, you've just sublimated your main headline with your outside copy. So that copy on the outside better be your headline, and it better be powerful enough to get that person to turn over the envelope, open up the envelope, take out the letter, and start reading it. Because if it isn't, they're not going to do that. And that's your real headline. So my definition for a headline is the first thing they see. On a website, what's the first thing they see? Anybody got an answer to that? It's a trick question, actually. It's a regular headline of the website, but how do they get to the website? Okay, but how did they get the URL? Somebody said email, right? That's one way. How else do they get there? Search terms, the search engine, keywords. Those are your headlines, Those are your headlines. Your domain name a little, but it's really the search terms, that search phrase, that's your headline. Now, when they get to your website, that's also another headline, and you need to treat that like a headline as well. But don't forget that you've got people who are opening your email by reading the subject line. That's your headline. Deal with it as a headline. Learn how to write good headlines. The from subject. I've seen many people, a company, I'll buy something from a company, they'll send me something important, and they'll send it from the person, the employee, whose name I do not know. Remember the first thing on the top here. I don't know who you are. You send me something and I don't know who you are, that's likely to get trashed. Because I sort my email with my hand strategically poised above the delete key. Okay? And you're going to get deleted if you don't get my attention real quick, because I got a lot of things to eliminate. So, the from line, in the case of a company sending you something, when you've done business with them and you identify the business as a company, needs to be the company name. It doesn't need to be Joe Blow. It doesn't need to be XYZ231 at netcom.net. That looks like spam to me, because I'm used to knowing what spam is about. That looks like spam to me. It needs to be the company name if it's a company. Now, most of the people in our business deal with personalities. We are personalities. My company's name is PC Marketing. Hardly anybody knows PC Marketing. They know Carl Galletti. When I send an email, it says from Carl Galletti. Now, you may like me or you may hate me, but you'll know who I am when I send you an email. And hopefully, if you're going to build a relationship with somebody, they need to know you. You need to make yourself known to them at a personal level. That's how you build a relationship. If you send your email from your company name and they don't recognize your company name, it's going to get trashed. So make it your name if you're doing business, how most of you probably are doing business, as people representing your own company. Entrepreneurs mostly deal with, you need to popularize your own name as a person who's got the relationship. The next thing is the subject. Now, first thing I look for is the from line. Who's it from? If I don't recognize the from line, I'll glance at the subject line. If I know enlargement is in the subject line, I'll immediately delete that. But you need to say something that will get through to them and make them want to open the thing. Okay? And, it can't be too hypey, because all the spammers know the hype stuff. They're really good at hyping, and they're also very good at getting you to open the thing anyway. But spammers are pretty much stupid, because When I open something, when they fool me and I open it, I also have my left finger on the escape key, which closes it down, and then I hit the delete key. So it's just, they got another second of my attention, but they didn't get my order, or even they didn't even get me to read the thing. So you need to have something that will get through to them and treat it like a headline. There are browser differences. You need to know that when somebody brings up your browser, your site, that they may not be seeing the same thing you're seeing. I just brought up one of my sites for the paperless newsletter publisher. I just brought it up on someone else's computer this weekend, and I discovered that it's got a big open space at the top of it. I said, well, where's the headline coming up? And I scrolled down and noticed that the headline started off screen. I said, well, I've got to fix this, because on my screen it looks like it's at the top, you know. So take a look at all the browser differences and what you can do to do that. Fragmentation. Some people do websites, and they may even be successful, that require you to go to other places because they're really using this hyperlink capability. You know, you can go here and get more information. You go to page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, continue it on. So the first page loads faster. And that's good. But let me tell you something. Every time you ask someone to go to the next page, you risk losing them. I said I designed this website, makes $100,000 a month now. We actually modeled it after another website, and that other website had pages. It had 8 or 9 pages, and you had to go one page at a time to each page. So that's what we did originally. And we were up to about $50,000 a month. And we said, this is pretty good, because the site that we modeled, it took them few years to get to 100,000. So they were doing 50 and then 75 and then 100,000, and it took a few years to get up there, but it built up. And we were at 50,000, and that was probably pretty good, and we were probably on that same path. We made one change, and it doubled the sales to 100,000. And the one change we made is, instead of putting it on 8 pages, we put it on 1 page. Okay, and that wasn't all. There was another little change, but that was the main thing. If you must put it on more than 1 page, to make sure, number one, is that you got them up to a fever pitch before they get to the bottom and they have to switch pages. And number 2 is, make it as long as you can within your limits of quick page. But graphics will slow you down. Yes, questions?
Cole, what's your opinion on header graphics? Because strictly speaking, they're the first thing that people see in front of the headline. Is it? All popular websites have them, but obviously that's the first thing that people see.
I like headers. You call them header graphics. I like them a lot, and I think they kind of set the tone for the letter. But I've seen very successful sites that don't have that. There's something about it. I can't quite say why that works, but I think it does work pretty successfully, and I recommend header graphics. The same thing with a cover of the book. You know, like Armand's e-cover generator. Everybody ought to have his header generator, his e-cover generator, and his e-book generator. They're absolute 3 the best tools that you should ever have, because if you put a cover on your website, it's going to increase your sales. I think, although I don't have the statistics on it, if you put a header on your website, it's going to increase the sales as well. And I'm going to tell you at the end of this talk how you can find out exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Your client that's doing $100,000 a month, are you doing a combination of direct mail and driving them to the website, or is this solely being done based on traffic that's coming to the website alone?
That's an excellent point. I'm glad you brought that up. First of all, yes, he is doing offline advertising to supplement that. People are coming in through the site, and he's bringing them off the site. That's one of the techniques. And the site we modeled it after does the same thing. And what it does is it offers them something for free to send. It's a free audio cassette you send through the mail. Actually, the product is is a what do they call BLO, big lumpy object? Is that it's a cassette system, and it sells for 150. My client sells one for it's over 200, but the original one was 150. And the reason for that is you get their snail mail address. Now nowadays, snail mail works really well because a lot of people have gone to the internet, and so your mailbox has less junk mail in it, because they're all on the internet spamming. So you have less competition in the mail, and internet marketers forget that. My first experience with the internet was this. I used to have a book catalog. People would call me up because my name was in other books, and they'd recommend me, and they'd say, get Carl's catalog. So they'd call me up, ask for a catalog, and I'd print up a catalog for them. I'd print it up on my laser printer or the local copy place, stapled it, put it in an envelope, sent it out to them. It'd take about a week or two to get to them through the mail, and it cost me about $2. So I'd get these requests every single day, and I'd send them out, and I was doing a good business off of it. Well, the internet came along. I said, this is great. I'm going to put my catalog up on the internet. I put my catalog up on the internet. The first person who called, I said, hey, you got website access? He said, yeah. I said, well, let me give you my URL. I don't have to send the catalog out to you. It won't take a week or two. It won't cost me $2. I didn't tell him that. But you get it right away, instantaneously. And I said, wow, I'm going to sit back and the orders are going to be rolling in now. I'm going to double or triple my response. Well, guess what happened? It cut my responses in half by sending them to the website. The reason for it is because the website is very fleeting. You're there, you're gone. Even if you bookmark it, how many people go back to their bookmarks? The likelihood of going back is it's not top of mind, so you're not thinking of it. You don't go back. But you got a catalog. It's laying there. It's reminding you as long as it's there, and you'll come across it. It may be a day from now, maybe a week from now, and maybe a year from now. I've had people order from catalogs that are several years old. They're just sitting there, and I keep my catalog so I know. So the point is, if you really want to be successful on the internet, and not everybody does this, people are successful without doing this, but if you really want to be successful, take them off the internet as soon as possible. Get their snail mail address, get their phone number, supplement that thing. Okay? And to get their real address, you need to send them something. Don't say just enter your address here and we'll give it to you. Or whatever it is you're going to give them. Well, you can download this. Just give us your real address. Yeah, right. You're going to get the real address. The only way you're going to get the real address is if you have to send them something that they want. The only way you're going to get the real email address is if you have to email them something that they want. So rather than bring something up on a screen on your website offering it valuable stuff for free to them there, say, send me your email address and I'll email you the thing, or I'll email you the link to it so that you be sure you get it. Yeah.
Follow-up question to this case study that went from $50,000 to $100,000 a month.
Yeah.
You said that changing from multiple pages to one page was the main thing. You also said there's one other small change that helped. Can you share that with us?
Yeah. The way the original site went, there were 8 pages. If you stopped in that sequence and went back to another page or left the site, it would do a pop-up on exit, bring up a pop-up and say, thanks for visiting this site. By the way, we have this free cassette we'd like to send to you if you just answer a few questions. It had a survey question. And there were only two questions that mattered. One of them was what your interest area was. There was about 8 or 10 topics. And the other one was, have you decided to buy this, and if not, why? And there were 3 reasons why you might not buy it. These are the objections. And what happened is it set into sequence a series of messages sent by sequential autoresponder, which was key to your answers. So if you said, I'm interested in relieving stress relief, and I didn't buy because it's too much money, they sent you emails which were key to the fact that they explained why this was so good for relieving stress and why this was such a good investment of your money and it was a good deal for your money. So it addressed specifically what your concerns were. It customized it and personalized it as much as you can with an automated system. So it offered this cassette, and it would send them the cassette. And what changed on that doubled the sales is it offered them the cassette right up front, in addition to keeping it all on one page. So they could go and they could say, oh yeah, I want this cassette, click on it, and then it would bring up the survey questions, and they could put in their name, address, and it would send them the audio cassette. Automation, get everything you got automated. The more you can automate it, the better. Color, you can use color on your website. It's cheap. It doesn't cost you anything, so color makes sense. In direct mail, color costs more, sometimes 50% more, and sometimes the economics are not don't justify the extra cost. In the internet, it doesn't matter. Generally, if you use color well, it can improve your response. Typeface, there are differences. When I send out a letter, my headline is in Times Roman, my body copy is in Courier. The reason I do that is because Courier looks like it's typed. That makes it look personal. It's not to fool them into thinking it was personally typed for them. It's made to put them into a mode that they would be in if they were reading a personally typed letter. That's changed a little because of the computerization. We do a lot of things in Times Roman in the body copy now, but I still don't like it as much as Courier. However, on a website, there are differences with that. Number one is Times Roman doesn't, in body copy, is hard to read. It's smaller, it's broken up, it's not as easy to read. The test of what you should be using is to make it easy for your reader to read what you've got. Sometimes the difference, and it can be a big difference, is all in how easy it is to read. Yeah. Does the size of the text for the headline and body copy matter, basically, and colors? Yeah, it matters, but just get it so that it looks easy to read, that it's easy to read, and it's big enough to be easy to read, and take into consideration the browser. Just look at it. And I generally use black as the main body copy and accent with either red or blue. Okay, and blue works really well, and red works really well, and even in the background. Oh, the other thing about background is do not put your words on top of patterns or colors. Make it black on white, or color on white. The only exception to that, or addition, is you can do a little, like, you see these boxes that have like a cream color background? That's fine. They're easy to read. Just make sure the contrast is such that it's easy to read. That's the driving factor in it. Easy to read. Otherwise, they're not going to read it. Italics, the same problem. If you put your body copy in italics, see how difficult it is to read. It's very difficult to read. It's okay to use in a headline in bigger type, but try to stay away from it in smaller type in body copy. Use bold, underline, that sort of stuff. Caps. Only limited amount of caps. Okay. Reverse, that's what I'm talking about. Reverse. Don't use... now, you see, here's the thing. In print, this would never work, white on a color background. On a presentation, this works better than black on a white background. On the website, don't use white on black, even though it's white on a dark color, even though it shows up well. It's hard to read. It's still hard to read. Extremely difficult to read. And don't use any weird color. Read the thing, put your face on the screen for a few seconds, and then move away. If you see a color out in the distance here, it's a wrong color to use.
This is the end of side 1. Please turn your cassette over.
It probably makes a little bit of difference, and it's probably worth doing if you can do it easily. So, okay. There are a lot of advantages to doing your own writing, and that's why I recommend you do your own writing. It's fine to hawk someone else's affiliate program, and by all means, sell affiliate programs of people you trust, and you like their products. But you're never going to make it really big on your own unless your name is either Frank Garin or or you make a name for yourself. It's okay. You can actually do well, as Frank Garin has shown, and even the guys from Namestick Nitro Stats. They're a lot of people have made good living out of doing that, but you also need to have your own identity. And a lot of people tell me, I don't know, I can't get this thing to work. Well, what are you selling? Well, I'm selling these other people's stuff. Well, so why should I buy it from you? Again, why you? So what? Who cares? What's in it for me? Why should I buy this from you? I can get it anywhere else. Uniqueness is important, and building your own reputation. So, and you can't do that unless you can write. There are all these other advantages. You can sell reprint rights to your stuff. Jimmy was talking about how much money he makes selling reprint rights. Well, if he didn't write that stuff, you think he'd be selling as many reprint rights? No, not at all. Do your own stuff too. By all means, sell other people before you have your own stuff, and use that as a bridge. But work on doing your own stuff. Okay, in your group here, I believe you also have several of my own samples. So what these are one page, the first page of letters that I wrote. And they're good examples in the sense that they give you a good rhythm. They say things that are exciting. You'll get a good idea. And I'll just go, this is one I wrote for Jay Abraham for his mastermind thing. Jay said, gee, this thing didn't work. It only got 50 people at $400 to a half-day seminar. He wanted to get 50 people each half day for a whole week to the seminar. And I said, well, geez, that's not me. Let's see, 50 times $400, $20,000 for an afternoon's work. Well, I'll take that, Okay. So this is done for a wrestler, Lee Kemp. Now, here's the thing. And with an 11-8 record during my freshman and sophomore years in high school, I was just another wrestler. Then I learned something the next summer that changed me forever. In my junior year, I became the undefeated state champion. Since then, I've become a 3-time world champion, and many experts consider me to be the world's greatest American wrestler of all time, Lee Kemp. In quotes. Now, if you read that and you were interested in wrestling, would you stop there? No. There's no way. So that's the kind of thing that I'm trying to give you as samples. This one, Layla Hardy, she had this technique. She was using a technique the masters used, and it was really brilliant, and it was different. And I just captured it in here. You can read it in your own leisure. This one was a technique to sell more dresses at a dress shop. I had a partner, and we had access to buying rings for $2.50 a piece that we could sell for. We wanted to sell for $5 a piece, and were labeled $29.95. Had a price tag of $29.95. So what we did is I wrote this letter to propose to dress shops to sell dresses and give away a $29.95 ring with the dress. And it was very successful. 20. Okay, good. Oops, this back way. Nobel Prize winning MD discovers amazing secret that could lead to a longer and healthier life for you and your family. This guy, Alexis Carrel, was a Nobel Prize winning doctor, and he did this experiment. He kept this chicken embryo alive for, 32 years. The normal lifespan of a chicken is 7 years. And what he did was every day he took the waste products out and put nutrients in. That's all he did. And in fact, after 32 years, the only reason why the embryo died is because Alexis Carrel had died, and the assistant got lazy and stopped changing the fluid. So who knows? That could have been a chicken that lived forever. So it was a good angle to go. This friend of mine, Rob Gilbert, how to get your athletes to perform their absolute best when everything depends on it. The 7 secrets that can make you a winning coach. It was he's a sports psychology person, and this was to sell things to coaches. So the most important thing you will learn this summer, it's a seminar. Okay, is test your web copy, and you will be the guru. Now, I gave you a whole bunch of things that I know from my study, in mail order. And I suggest you buy a bunch of those books back there because they're all the classics. Oh, one of the things that I used in the early days, there's something called the News Track Advertising Classics. It's got 8 different classics: Claude Hopkins, Albert Lasker, and by the way, that tape has the Albert Lasker book is out of print, and that's the only place you can get it. It's on tape. David Ogilvy, Max Sackheim, all the masters, 8 of them on audio tape. What I used to do when I was starting out is I'd listen to the tape in my car as I'm driving back and forth to work. It was like a half hour to an hour a day, depending on when we're talking. And I'd listen to the tape and I'd get an education every single day. And when I got to the end of the tape set, I'd start at the beginning of the tape set. And I kept going through it. And it got to a point where I knew Claude Hopkins better than Claude Hopkins probably knew Claude Hopkins. He's dead, but you know. And I did the same thing with Gary Halbert tape. And I found myself doing a seminar and being able to just say something that was just an absolute quote from not only the exact words he said that I could quote, but I could say in the way that he could say it. And I began to write like him so much that people would call me up and say, "Did you write this for Halbert?" I said, "No, I didn't write that for Halbert." And or they'd say, "You know, that sounds like, did Halbert write this for you?" I said, "No, I can't afford Halbert." But that's if you study these people, if you do those exercises I told you, and there are other exercises. When I got started in this, in the 80s, but when I started teaching people how to write copy, my copywriter protege program worked really well because we had a lot of exercises that I developed. They're proprietary exercises. Some are based like this kind of thing. There's one that's really powerful, and I don't tell anybody this one. Don't you tell them either, Preston. Because it's so darn powerful that it literally transforms people. And I critique it and go through the whole thing. How you become the guru, though, is there are always questions to be answered. And there are always things that people will need to know. When I say people, writers need to know about their copy. When does the person stop reading this? In advertising, they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for research firms to sit there and measure the eye movements of people sitting in a seat reading their copy to see what their eye movement goes to when they leave the copy, etc. This is one of the most valuable things you can have. David Ogilvy was a nut on doing this. He had Daniel Starch do all kinds of things. He had George Gallup do studies. This is extremely important. How can we do that on the web? Well, there's an actual product that you can get. It's not my product, but people in this room market it. Single most important web tool you can have. Okay, and it was just recently created. You know what it is. It's something called NitroStats. And if you go to copystats.com, you'll get the hoedown on NitroStats. What this allows you to do is it allows you to track how far your customer got through your ad. It allows you to find out when they leave your website. But more than that, it'll do it for your affiliate websites as well. So, and that's unbelievable because there are other tracking programs, but they don't do other people's websites. And this one's easy to set up there. If you get that information, you will be the expert because you can come to me and say, "Hey, Carl, guess what? Right over here, people are getting lost, and I made this change, and I doubled my sales by just making this one little change," because it all runs on statistics. One of the things I found is way back in the 70s, I was in the computer business. And I was in the personal computer business. I was one of the first people in the computer business. When my company was demonstrating at a show, across the aisle from me was this little company called Apple. They had this sort of jury rig thing with Steve Jobs there, and Bill Gates was leaning on a post with my partner, and they were discussing software and stuff. And that's how early the industry was at the time. Well, I was tuned into that industry really well, and I got information that was extremely valuable to me. And I eventually sold the company and went off and did some other stuff. And what I noticed, and this must be something that people who retire get as well, is I got out of the loop. And I wasn't getting the same information. And it was amazing because I was falling way behind the curve. People were just passing me by. And the reason is because I wasn't plugged into the mainstream of getting the good information. I didn't have vendors coming to me telling me what was going on. And as a result, I lost a lot of ground. I had to gain it back, and actually switch fields to marketing. But the point is that that information is valuable. And in the Internet, that information that you get, you have to generate for yourself. And statistics, having a good stat program is probably your most valuable asset to deciding and to even learning and improving on your copy, because it's all customized. You know, the best any experienced copywriter gets on average is 50%. You know, 50% of their stuff works really well. And the reason, even the best people do this, you know, and the reason is because you can't always tell. You can base it, you can give it the best shot you have based on past knowledge and experience. But if you don't test, you don't move up, and you don't ensure the success of your and increase the success of your ad. By having a good testing tool, it's invaluable. So that's, if you want to be the guru, you have the stats. You can come to me and you can say, here are the numbers. I can show you what makes good copy, and that's important. I probably shouldn't give that to you. It makes competition, but that's all right. Any questions? Yeah, right there.
I'd always learned that for a headline you need a sans serif font, and you're saying to use Times Roman?
Well, I don't know where you heard sans serif, but what does the New York Times use?
Well, they use
serif,
yeah.
New York Times Roman,
yeah.
right? Most newspapers, 99% of all newspapers use serif font, Times Roman, and people are used to reading that in a newspaper. Mm-hmm. Do what people are used to doing. Consistency is your friend. You know, if you're consistent with what other people are doing in that medium and people are reading it, then use it. If you're writing newspaper or magazine ads, Times Roman makes sense. If you're doing website stuff, you could use Times Roman, but you could also use the sans serif face as well. So, see what works and what's easy to read. Yes, question.
Would you please comment briefly on the use of highlighting and also spacing with using ... in your copy?
Okay. See if I... for highlighting, what I do in a headline, for instance, I will occasionally use all caps for one or two words. Probably no more than that. The reason I use ... is because I never want a period anywhere, because it stops people. Period is end of sentence. I don't want them end of sentence. It's all got to be a cliffhanger. When you get to the end of my sales letter, if you feel complete and satisfied, then I haven't done my job. If you get to the end of a page of my letter and you feel complete and you feel like you don't need to go to the next page, I haven't done my job. And you haven't done your job if you do that either. So you want things to want to look like they're going to continue on. Italics and bold are also things that are used in the same way. Briefly, just to accent.
You made a comment about browsers. What's your opinion of people that now at this point in time don't bother to have their website display properly on Netscape?
Oh, I think they should be hanged. No. You should have it just because there are enough people out there, and you don't want to exclude people in your marketplace. So you want to try to do it, but it's a difficult thing, this compatibility thing. But you've got to test it. There are some websites. Armand probably knows where they are because he knows all of that stuff as to where you can go and get your thing tested to see what it'll show up and look like. That's all. Thank you very much. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you.
And I'd like to welcome everyone tonight to the Big Seminar Preview Series. My name is Armin Morin, and I'm going to be your host for this evening. And tonight's call is part of our Big Seminar Preview Series. Tonight's guest speaker is Carl Galletti, and Carl is going to be talking with us about many different subjects. And if those of you that don't know Carl, he's a fantastic copywriter. In fact, he's one of the world's top copywriters, to be exact. In fact, he's written ad copy for people like Gary Halbert, people like Jay Abraham. He's done a lot of different things on and off the Internet, and we're going to tap into his brain tonight and find out as much information that we can to give you as much information that you can take home and apply to your business today. So we're going to go over that in the next 60 minutes. But before we even get into that, what I'd like to do is just give you my 2-minute commercial in the beginning, which is about the big seminar. If you haven't heard yet, the fact is that the big seminar is happening in August 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. In fact, that's about 30 days away right now at this point, so there's plenty of time to get involved with the big seminar. The big seminar, it's going to be 3 jam-packed days of literally training, nothing but training for the Internet, showing you how to build a successful Internet business. Who's going to do it? Well, the world's top Internet marketers. Who else? Those are the people that are qualified to do it. And we brought them all into one place at one time so they can teach you for 3 days how to do this. We've got people like Carl Galletti, Joe Vitale, Alex Mondosian, Jonathan Mizell, Declan Dunn, Kurt Christensen, Fred Gleek, Randy Chirac, Frank Guerin, Frank Kern. I know there's a couple other people in there that I'm probably missing. But the fact is there's about 13 different people going to be teaching you for 3 days straight. And there's really a whole system built around this, meaning that each and every one of these people have a different specialty that they deal with on the Internet that they're very good at. They're going to take what they know, what has worked. They're going to show you how to do it. They're going to give you examples of what's been done, how it can apply to your business, and then you can take that information home and apply it to your business and literally succeed on the Internet. It's very simple. It's not complicated, but the fact is if you can have someone lay you out a blueprint as to how to do this, it makes it a whole lot easier than just trying to figure it out yourself. Literally, we're going to jam in several months. In fact, I'm going to probably say about 18 months worth of Internet marketing failure and show you how to do it in a weekend from the people that have done it. And you're going to learn so much information there, your head's going to be spinning by the time you leave the seminar. The fact is, though, is that it's in California. You have 30 days, and I invite everyone on this call to be in California with us. It's going to be a fantastic event. We're going to have probably around 300-plus people at the event, and we're really excited about that. But tonight's call is with Carl Galletti, and the first thing I'd like to do is welcome Carl to the call. Welcome to the call, Carl.
Howdy out there in Internet marketing land.
In cyberspace.
In cyberspace.
No. Carl, there is, you've done a lot of different things since I've known you, and you've done
some of them even legal too.
Some of them legal, some of them legal. Well, I wasn't going to bring that up, but but if you've seen Carl's picture on the website and you've been to the post office, it's no coincidence. It's the same picture. But one of the things, Carl, is you've had a real interesting past. And something that not a lot of people
tell me about it.
Well, something a lot of people don't know is, well, I don't know if I should bring this up because this might be a sore spot.
Well, you're not going to bring up that I was a ham radio operator when I was 13 years old, are you?
No.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't going to do that. I was actually going to talk about that you could have been Bill Gates.
Oh, geez.
I was.
Is this something has to do with his parents and my parents, or
well, no,
something else?
Actually, what I was talking about is your computer history, dating back to the days before that a computer that most of us even know what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could explain everybody a little bit about that.
Well, I about as close as I ever came to Bill Gates is. That at one of the first, actually the first personal computer show, he and my partner in my first computer company, we had like one of the first personal computer companies, were exhibiting, Microsoft and us were exhibiting at the same show, and my partner and Bill were leaning against a column over on the side and discussing software techniques. And then I had one other encounter with him where he showed up to speak at another conference, and I was part of the selection committee, and the guy who's the head of it was a good friend of mine, Alan Katz. He's a professor at the university, and Bill had to stay someplace until he was scheduled to come on to be the speaker. And the only place they could find for him was Alan's office in the university. So he was in this tiny little office. Alan's office is like a closet, and so I just picture him staying there for I think he was there a couple hours while he was just killing time. I wonder what he was doing, Anyway, but I digress. The company we had at the time was Technical Design Labs, and we were innovators in the Z80 genre of S100 computers. We were first ones out with a Z80-based computer, personal computer. These are all pre-IBM PCs. But what came out of that is one of the principals in the company, one of my partners, whose name is Chris Rutkowski, went to Epson at the time, and they were kind of an unknown company, Epson America, and he put them on the map by negotiating the deal with Epson and IBM to use their Epson printer with IBM, and that put Epson on the map. And then there was Neil Colvin, who went off. This is after the company was sold off, and these guys went their separate ways. Neil went on and created a company called Phoenix Software Associates, which still exists today. And they created, and he specifically, as a software designer, specifically created the first IBM-compatible ROM, which made the entire clone market possible. So that's just, we're going back, we're going back 70s.
Back in the day.
So that's where I got my start, and and now let's segue into, here we are in 2003, and what the heck am I doing now? I don't know, writing copy, doing internet marketing, just generally hanging out with my friends, at conferences and stuff.
Sounds good to me.
But let's get. Do you have any? Do you think there's anyone who has anything they'd like to know about internet marketing and what that might be?
Well, let's talk about. Do you have a definition that you'd like to share?
No.
Okay.
I'm just asking you.
Well,
I've got a few things I want to talk about, but I thought before I did that, maybe there's some burning question in everyone's mind that they'd like to know, and maybe you're tapped into that.
Okay, well, yeah, I got a question for you. I think that many people want to know. Okay. I think it's the same question that many people ask ask very frequently to avoid mistakes, and that is, what's your opinion of the biggest mistake that people make online?
I haven't the vaguest idea. No. Well, my opinion, and it's a prejudiced opinion, but I think I have enough substantiation to back it up, is that they don't pay very much attention, and some don't pay any attention at all to the copy, the words. We use copy as a term for us, the guys in the business, for the words that are in an ad or in a promotion, some sort of thing like that. And there's an actual technology of that. There's, people have actually, built some techniques around that. Going back as far as the early 1900s and even before then, and guys like Claude Hopkins and Robert Collier and John E. Kennedy, Albert Lasker. These are guys who kind of created the direct response field, and the direct response field is totally responsible for all the success of the internet marketers on the internet today. They've all been trained in direct response techniques, whether it was before there was an internet, during, or after, whatever. They all live, die, and succeed on the quality of their direct response capabilities and techniques, and that is the core of that is based in copy. And there's some things to be learned and studied in that, and
if you're really good at, what I always say is the biggest mistake people make, and the biggest reason for failure on the internet is not technical stuff or not knowing technical stuff, because there are a lot of successful people who haven't a clue about the technical stuff. The biggest reason for failure on the internet is they don't know anything about marketing and copy. Now, it doesn't mean they have to write copy, but they have to know what good copy is, because if they're going to hire somebody to write it, then they have to know what it is. And if they're going to write it themselves, they have to know what it is and what those techniques are. So that's the biggest reason why people fail on the internet. And, there are only three things that you need to do any business, whether it's an internet business or an offline business. And those three things are: you need a product, something to sell, in other words, and that product can be a service, but it's a product. And you need also people to sell it to, and on the internet we call that traffic. And then the third thing you need is a persuasion mechanism, some way to persuade them. On the internet, it's a website, it's an email, it's an e-zine. There are a number of instruments we have, an e-book, that persuade people to buy something, buy your product. So what this persuader does is it brings the product and the people together, and if you do it really well, then they come out getting a lot out of your product, and in exchange for that, they give you some money, and you get a lot out of that, so everybody goes away happy. Nobody. Here's a little-known fact. Okay, I was going to say it's an unknown fact, but it's not unknown. If it weren't known, I wouldn't know it, right? It's a little-known fact that people never buy anything unless they feel they're going to get more out of it than what they paid you for it. So in other words, if they pay $100 for something, they wouldn't do that unless they felt they were getting more than $100 out of it, okay, in terms of value. So, keep that in mind whenever you're selling anything. Speaking of offers, can I bring up my offer to the people who've come to my who I've referred to here, or are going to sign up under my URL? Which, can I give this out, or
actually, no.
Okay.
They
need to go to the email that I sent them, and it has the URL in there. I mean, click on that. If you buy on that URL, my people, for the big seminar, okay, I'm going to give you a DVD set of the video from my seminar, which was just passed, which was 24 hours of hot stuff, some speakers that aren't going to be at the big seminar, some speakers who are going to be at the big seminar but talked about different things, because we like to change our modus operandi and introduce new stuff. That's worth $9.97, so it's an extra added value for my people.
That's okay. Well, wait. That's a pretty good deal. I mean, I'd buy the link for that.
Well, you can sign up. Go to my email. I'm sure I sent you a copy.
I got a copy.
Sign up. I could use that.
Now, how many hours is that video?
It's 24 hours on 14 DVDs.
24 hours on 14 DVDs, and this was the event that Carl just had, the Internet Marketing Super Conference in Las Vegas, which I was glad to be at. It's a great event, and so it's like doubling the value. So that's a tremendous deal.
Yeah,
so,
and it's nice to have something you take home with you, because a lot of times, you might not take good enough notes, or you might not really get something. You want to review it in more detail than your notes are capable of giving you, and it's really nice to have video. And having these videos, God, you learn so much. I mean, I learned myself. There's one guy's presentation for about 15 minutes. I reviewed about 3 times because there was so much detail in it. In that 15 minutes that, I had to wait, what's that all about? I had to figure it all out. But tremendous stuff, and a lot of tremendous stuff at the big seminar, too. Remember that networking is very important, so being there live is an extremely important asset. In fact, sometimes you miss what's going on in the seminar room because you're out with the networking with the speakers or whatever, other people in the audience. So, videos are always good to have for a number of reasons. So anyway, okay, that aside, let's get back to some good stuff, because actually my whole talk here is going to be one big commercial, because what I've discovered is that for me, the biggest content on the internet, the thing that gives me the biggest value is discovering products that help me market better. And I'm gonna push somebody's product right now because it's a great product, but there's a good reason, there's a good copy reason for it, and it's something that I think very few people know or realize, but we'll say that at the end because it's one of your products, Armand.
Okay.
It actually, no, I'll just say right up front, it's audio generator. Okay.
Sure.
So if you've seen this audio generator, I don't know if you fully comprehend the power that this thing is going to bring to the internet. But let me give you a little demonstration. A long time ago, Corning Glasswork, which makes unbreakable glass now, when they first discovered this unbreakable glass process, they sent their salespeople out into the field, and they had they knew who was good and who wasn't and who's in between. And at the end of the year, the guy who won the top sales position was somebody who, until that point, had been a pretty mediocre salesman. They didn't know what he had done new, but at the awards banquet, they decided to get him up, put him on the spot, and say, what is it that you did that allowed you to sell so much unbreakable glass? Well, he said, well, here's my technique. He said, I take a little piece of sample unbreakable glass, and I take a ball peen hammer. That's the one it's got a round head knob on the one head. And so I take it into a customer. I say, how would you like to see a piece of glass that doesn't break? They say, sure. So I put the glass down on the desk. I take the hammer and I hit it as hard as I can. I could see everybody jumping away from their desk. And he says, then I say, how much would you like? And he'd take the order and walk out. Well, he was the top salesman, and so the people in the sales department, not being dummies, decided, hey, we're gonna give this method to all of our salespeople. So they gave everybody a ball peen hammer, a sample piece of glass, taught them the method, sent them out into the field. They sold more unbreakable glass than they ever dreamed of. But at the next awards banquet, this guy is still the best. And they wondered why, because they thought when they gave an even playing field to everybody that this guy would fall back into his old patterns. And so what made him still the number one person? So at the awards banquet, they again asked him what he did. And he said, well, I knew you were going to steal my idea, so I had to come up with something better. So what I did is now I walk into the customer. I say, how would you like to see a piece of glass that doesn't break? I hand them the piece of glass. I hand them the hammer, and I say, hit that glass as hard as you can. And they hit it, and they can't break it. And I say, how much would you like? Okay. Now, what does this prove? What's the whole magic? It's a nice, cute little story, but what's the real essence? What's the learning that we can get from this thing? Well, the thing that's learning is that when you bring the experience, give the experience more dimension and bring it closer to the customer, okay, you can sell more. What the audio generator has done is to give you a simple, quick way to bring audio to the web with very little pain, and what that does is it brings a new dimension, okay? You normally, before the audio thing, and there's webcasting and all of that stuff, and it's going to get bigger, and video's going to get bigger, and that's even better. But the problem now is that it's a bear to implement. This thing and audio even up to now, this is a breakthrough product. Audio up to now was still difficult to implement in a very easy fashion. And what the audio generator does is it implements it in a simple-to-use fashion, and it makes it viewable and listenable to everybody who's got a computer with speakers and an audio system, which is nearly everybody now because they all come with it. What that does is it brings the experience closer. Now, a campaign I'm working on right now for a J. Abraham product just came to me. I'm writing a sales letter, and I'm listening. I have the product, so I'm listening to it. I'm listening to Jay, and if everybody's listened to Jay he's just, some people like him, some people hate him, but I'll tell you one thing about Jay is when you listen to him, he just speaks the truth. He's got tremendous ideas, and he's just a wealth of ideas, and he just tells it, and it's just so darn believable. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the audio generator, an audio, what do you call that, an audio button on it?
Yeah, an audio player.
An audio player on the website with the sales letter on there. And Jay is going to say in his own words, this 1-minute speech that when I heard that, I said, anybody who hears this is going to buy this product. It's just, he came across so genuine, so powerful that he made a point. And the biggest problem that all advertisers have, Armand, do you know what the biggest problem all advertisers have? All people want to sell something. What's their biggest problem?
I don't know.
Believability. I don't believe you. I don't believe what you say. I'm not buying your product. James Webb Young said it, and David Ogilvy said he was the best copywriter in history. He's no longer alive, thank God. I mean, not thank God. Well, I don't. That's a little mixed emotion for me. I'm good. I'm glad he's gone. That he's not a competition, but I'm not glad he's gone because Well, anyway, I guess I put my foot into that one. All right. So, but he died a long while ago in the 50s sometime, and he was a great copywriter. And one of the things that he said was that the most difficult problem every advertiser has is to be believed. And there are different ways to be believed. There are testimonials, and we know about testimonials on the web. But you get a testimonial on the web, okay, and just read the testimonial. That's one level of dimension. If you hear the testimonial, it's just so much more effective, isn't it? And what do your tests show? Do you want to reveal? Do you want to reveal those test results you told me about last night?
On the audio?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Here's what we did, just so everyone understands. What we did is we added several different things, and one of the features that we've been testing lately on the audio generator site is what Alex Mondosian refers to as an ask campaign on exit, which means if you go to audio generator and you leave the site, all of a sudden a box comes up, a pop-up, and it says, wait, we need your advice. What's the single biggest reason you are leaving us without giving audio generator a fair try? Now, we tested this with audio and without audio. Now, the without audio didn't do very well, but the with audio outpulled the without audio by over 400%. Okay, over 400% more people gave us their answer because all of a sudden that pop-up comes up, and all of a sudden you hear me saying, just like this, wait, we need your advice. What's the single biggest reason you're leaving us without giving audio generator a fair try? We appreciate your information to help us better our service. Fill in the information in the box below, submit, and click the Submit Your Advice Now button. Thank you, and have a fantastic day. That's basically what I say. I'm giving them directions. I'm asking them for their advice, and the key part to this is actually I'm asking them for their advice because everyone loves to give advice. So, but the fact is that with the audio, it made it a whole lot easier. Now, one of the other things that we did is the order form, which is a first, I believe, on the internet. Is we actually put audio on our order form, and when you come to the order form, what happens is we ask you again. Well, we don't even ask you. It just plays automatically. It says, thank you for coming to Audio Generator. Fill in the form below. Make sure all the information is filled out. Click the next button, and your Audio Generator account will be created instantly. Thank you. Have a fantastic day. And, again, with and without on the order form, almost 400% as well just on the order form. Now, that is, again, just adding audio to the site. Now, think about this. Now, I happen to be lucky and I generate a lot of traffic to the site because I learned what to do. The fact is that by getting a number of people to click on the order form was not a big issue. The issue was getting people from the order form to convert into actual people that purchase the service. See, the majority of people that come to an order form abandon the order form. They don't purchase. And by just putting this one little piece on it made a world of difference.
Right. Now let me take back the phone call. Good job, though. You did a real good job. Hey, you know, listen carefully to what Armand just said, because this is the kind of information that way back when pop-ups were first coming around, and I know some people hate pop-ups, but they're effective. And they were producing a 300% increase in sales,
right,
which is why everybody uses them today. You know, it's not because they're not effective. This thing's producing 400% increase in sales. So, but the important thing here, and one thing I want you to do is, at some point, if you're in a computer now, you can do it, but you can do it later. Check out this website, profitstoday.com. And if you do that, you find out some information about the audio generator. Anyway, the point is, what kind of lesson is this in what we just did here? Sounds like a promotion, right? Well, yeah, but that's what we're studying, isn't it? So, what better way to do it than to actually do a real live promotion that you can kind of get in there and figure the whole thing out. So what did we just do here? What I did was I said, okay, I know something that's working here. What is it, and why is it working? And then what I did is I related it to a principle that I knew, a couple principles that I knew. One is the Corning Glassworks, which is you bring the experience closer to the customer, and anytime you add dimension in something. What did he do the second year? He gave the customer the glass and the ball peen hammer. What does that do? It brought the experience closer to them. Why is that more effective? Because it's more believable. If a salesman comes and hits a piece of glass in front of me, I guess you have to believe that the salesman is not cheating you, but it's not nearly as effective as if you give it to me and I hit it with the glass, because, well, who knows? Maybe the guy's got a trick to it, But it's just so much more better experience that way. If anybody's ever been to a professional baseball game live, don't you notice a difference? I mean, live things are much more. They're just much more of an experience. You get a lot more out of it. That's why you should go to a live seminar. Okay. Yeah, I'm even relating these things. I didn't even think I was going to relate to that thing. But it's like going to a live concert. If you like music, you go to a rock concert, you go to a classical concert, whatever you like. You go to a play. Isn't it much more realistic to you when it's live and you are there, as opposed to seeing it through a screen on a via somewhere far away? And it's the same thing. When you take a website and you add audio to it, you're adding a dimension that wasn't there before. Video is going to be another thing. And actually, if you go to the big seminar website, Armand's got some video there. And that's, I don't know how you're implementing that or how easy it is to do, but that's an even better thing. If you can get people that, instead of having testimonials that are just written out and shown, have people say their testimonials. That's real easy and inexpensive. Video is a lot harder, a lot more expensive to implement now, and a lot more people aren't going to be able to get it as easily. But anyway, that's the point there. And what did we do here? We brought a story, we tied it in, and we just showed. And that's what you need to do when you're selling something on the web. You need to bring the experience as close as possible. Another technique is, after you sell somebody something, call them up on the phone. Why does that work? It's live, it's personal, it's upfront and personal, right? So these are all the things that make a sales experience work. And what we're dealing with on the web, when I say we're dealing with copy and words, it's not just a sales letter on your website. It's one of the ways to bring in traffic into your website, and there are many good ways. One of the ways, inexpensive ways, is articles, writing an article. Now, Jim Edwards at my seminar did, for the first time, a fantastic, laid it all out how you do this article thing and how you get it to work. There's a lot of stuff, and he's the expert on doing this. I thought Jim had been around for forever, but he's only been in this thing for a couple of years or so, hasn't he? And he's been hugely successful promoting his products and his websites with free articles. That's one way to do it. Well, how do you do an article if you can't write? And I'm not just talking about writing. I'm talking about being able to construct a sales message, because that's what we're in the business for. We're in the business of selling things. But, nobody wants to be coerced into buying something. They want to be, when they want to be persuaded into buying something in a way where they retain their freedom of choice and respect. So you want to make sure that when you explain somebody something about your product, that you're explaining something that is going to cause them to realize the value it'll have in their lives. And if your product doesn't have them, then just get another product, because products are easy to get that have value. So anyway, one of the other things that you use to bring traffic to your site is ebooks with links in them. So how do you get an ebook if you can't write one? Well, you can hire somebody to write one, but then how do you know if the guy you hired or the gal you've hired has written a good one or not, if you don't know how to judge writing? And I just believe everything is a marriage, good marriage between content and promotion, and it's okay to promote things. It's not a sin. You shouldn't feel that it's a sin to promote things, because if you're giving good value, then you should never feel that you haven't delivered content. With delivered content, know what your customers are looking for, and I assume the people on this call are looking to know how to sell their stuff on the web better. So that's what we're talking about. Now, one of those other techniques is bringing people in through things like search engines, right? And of course, we know about your Smart Page Generator and Stephen Pierce, and that's good stuff, and you really look into that. But one other way that I want to talk about for bringing in tons of traffic and to your website is advertising, and it's a little bit of advertising, a little corner of the advertising world that I think is the best corner of the advertising world, because it's so inexpensive to implement and so effective if you do it right. And what I'm talking about is Google AdWords. Now, if you're not familiar with what Google AdWords is, if you go to Google and you do a search on anything, practically anything, and you look along the right side of the search window, you'll see there's some columns of ads that are about, look like about a 2x2, and there's the top one, and then there's one underneath it, and sometimes they have, 4 or 5 of those things, maybe 6 or 7, sometimes it depends on the things, and they're little ads. They've got a heading to them, and they're about 2 or 3 lines, and then they've got a page rank, and then you click on them, and you get information that's about the keyword that you were looking up. Well, those things are pretty darn effective. And the magical thing, you ought to use those. I'm going to recommend that everybody use them. I don't get a commission from Google for this. It's just that this is something that everyone ought to be doing. Now, one of the magical things about this, and one of the things that people, if they haven't tried it or looked into it, may not realize, is that Google AdWords you can do 5 minutes from now, just about. Well, let's say, let's give it a few minutes for the sign-up process. Let's say within about 15 or 20 minutes, you can be getting traffic from Google AdWords if you do it right. Once you sign up for Google AdWords, you just say activate. You've got to do your thing. You got to write your little 2-line ad or whatever, and you've got to pick out what keywords you want this thing to come up under. And there's a whole thing that you need to study about, and I'm not going to say that you shouldn't be studying. It only takes 15 minutes to study it and implement it. I'm just saying, once you go onto the site and say, do your homework, and now you want to implement something, the process takes about 10, 15 minutes to activate, so that those Google AdWords are out there, and they're bringing in traffic. It's almost instantaneous, and it's one of the few things that you can get. You know, you go to a search engine, it's going to take, maybe a few weeks, maybe if you're lucky a few days if you really do it right and you got some good connections, like Armand, or you're linking into one of his sites, or he's linking to you, or whatever. You can make it happen faster, but Google AdWords happens almost instantaneously. And so there's a lot that you need to know about that. But one of the magical things is you can get immediate feedback. You come up and dream up a campaign for a new product, you want to test it out. Fastest way you can get a test on that and find out what is to use Google AdWords, because it will immediately start giving you traffic. Now, so you need to know about how to pick out words. But one of the things, writing is involved in that, and I'll tell you why. Because there's copy in that. Now, you may say, well, there are only 2 lines of copy and there's a heading. There's not much copy there. Well, that's true, but, it's harder to write a few words of good copy than it is to write a few pages of good copy. Because when you've only got a couple lines to do it in, then every word counts a lot more, and there's a real science to doing that. Now, what I reckon, so the better copy you have, of course, the better you're going to persuade. Well, guess what? The Google guys have, by either design or accident, designed a system whereby the better your ad is at performing, getting a response, the less money you pay per response, and the higher up in that listing you go. The way it works is I won't get into the whole thing the way it works, because you just go to Google and they explain the whole thing. But in general, the more you bid on how much you're willing, the highest bid, and but it's not a straight bidding system, because it's not the highest bidder. It's not like Overture where the highest bidder gets the top spot. It's a combination between how much you bid and how effective your ad is. So the person who gets the top spot may not necessarily be the highest bidder. They may get the highest response. By response, I'm talking about what they call it click-through rate, CTR, click-through rate, which means when it appears on the window, if somebody clicks on it, the number of people, the rate at which they click on your ad is the click-through rate. So if your ad appears 100 times and 3 people click on it, it's a 3% click-through rate. If 2 people click on it out of those 100, it's a 2% click-through rate. And that click-through rate, coupled with how much you bid, determines on your position. And you want to get the top 3. And the reason why the top 3 is magical is because only the top 3 are also, in addition to Google search engine, are put on the AOL search engine. And AOL is the largest ISP in the world. They've got millions upon millions of people there. So if you don't get in those top 3 Google AdWords, your ad doesn't appear in front of those millions of people or accessible to those millions of people. Now here's another little known fact about Google AdWords. You got 1, 2, and 3. The top person, pays the most, second, combined with response. And like I said, copy is important to be able to get a better response. But oddly enough, the third place ad is the most effective ad in terms of everything considered. And I won't get into the exact reasons, but it's basically one of the things you want to look for is that third place position is real magical. People are getting a lot better overall return on their investment at place number 3 than even 1 or 2. And generally, people in 1 or 2 are going to be paying more. So those are some of the ways to use your copy and your good words. I'm going to bring with me to the big seminar a little course on copywriting, and I'm going to maybe spend less time than I usually spend on this because I've got so many other things. One of the things that I'm going to talk about is something that is virtually unknown to everyone at this moment, and I guarantee you that after the big seminar, people are going to go away with their jaws hanging down, because this is totally going to revolutionize the way people are, what they're doing with their websites, what they're doing with the things they sell, their affiliate programs. This I think is the next big thing, and it totally amazed me. When I first heard about it, I was shocked and amazed at the amount of money being brought in with this little technique, and virtually no one is doing it. And I know because I've been surfing the net looking. It's just very small amount of penetration. But I'm going to go into it. I'm going to continue making a better and better study. So that at the big seminar, I'm not only going to tell you about it, I'm also going to give you the results of the study that I've been making on this thing and how this thing is working out. So that's something we're going to look forward to at the big seminar. One of the other things was, hey, Armand, do you have a list of the people who are on this call?
Do I have a list?
I mean, do you have the registration?
Yes,
Can you
I
go
do.
and pick somebody out?
Yes, I do.
On by number or how? How many people? How many people do we have to pick out from?
There are 317 people on this call right
Really?
now. Yes, there are.
That is neat. I'm going to pick out a number out of the clear blue sky, and we're going to give them the tape set from one of my past, not this last one, but one of the previous Internet Marketing Super Conferences, valued somewhere between $500 and $600. And we're going to give them one of those for free.
Okay.
Isn't that neat?
That sounds good to me.
Okay, so let's pick a number like 37.
37. Okay, that person's name, let me just make sure I'm reading this right. 37 is Redrick Redman. Redrick? Yep, Reddrick Redman, Redman.
Okay, now one of the requirements to win this is you have to be on the call. So why don't you open the call up and see if Redrick is around.
Okay, hold on for a moment.
If he is, he wins. If not.
Okay, is Redrick Redman on the call?
Yes, I am.
Hey, you win!
Oh, wonderful.
You're a winner. Hey, listen, Redrick, send an email to me, Carl@adsecrets.com.
Adsecrets.com?
Yeah, Carl@adsecrets.com.
Okay.
And send me your address so I can send you your package.
Wonderful.
Just give me I'll
Here, let's just repeat that again so we make sure he hears you.
Yeah, basically just send an email to me, Carl@adsecrets.com. That's ADSECRATS.com, and send me your address, and so I can send you the package. Give it about 2 to 3 weeks though, because I'm leaving right after this call for about 2 weeks, and won't be able to actually get it packaged up until I get back. But as soon as I get back, I'll get it out to you, and it'll take a few days to get to you. So if you do that, he's a winner.
Hey, since you're picking numbers right now,
why
don't we pick the person? I'm actually giving away the tape set from the last big seminar that we had.
You're giving away something too?
I'm giving away something too.
Heck, man, these people are lucky.
Everybody's making out. It's a giveaway.
Can I win?
You no.
Okay.
But
just asking.
I'll get you one though. I'll get you one. We need just pick another number.
Okay, another number, 217.
217. You had to make it difficult for me. The 37.
Count backwards.
The 37 was easy.
Yeah.
To get to. It's okay. Number 217 is Thomas Maxwell. Thomas Maxwell.
Hey, good name, Thomas Maxwell.
And let's see if Thomas is on the call. Just a moment. Is Thomas Maxwell on the call? No. Just a moment then.
Next.
Let's do one more. What do you want to go?
Take the one right after Thomas Maxwell.
Right after Thomas? That is. This is hard for me to read this thing. Tina Blevins. Tina Blevins. That's Blevins, Tina Blevins. And if Tina, you're on the call, then you won. Just a moment, let's see if you're there. Is Tina Blevins on the call?
Go to the end, for crying out loud.
I'm here. I'm on the call.
Is this Tina?
No.
That's it. Hold on. That's Jeanette. I know that.
Oh. Hi, Jeanette.
Okay, let's go. Let's try.
Jeanette's on every call, isn't she?
What?
Jeanette's on every call, isn't she?
Jeanette's on every call.
Yeah.
Jeanette, congratulations. You won. How's that? We'll make this real easy.
Wow,
like that.
there you go. See, it pays to be on every call.
She actually has. She's been on every single call that we've had. So, Jeanette, you won. Glad you're there. Jeanette, here's what I need you to do, since I know you're listening to me anyway, is simply send us an email at your address and everything at support@bigseminar.com. That's support@bigseminar.com, and we'll get that packages out to you tomorrow. So now we're getting ready to wrap it up here shortly. But Carl, I know you have a few closing comments that you'd like to make.
Well, I want to present a little controversial thing for about 5 minutes, because you may argue with me on this. So,
okay, if I may, then I probably will.
And in fact, I may argue with me on this one, but I have discovered an interesting little fact. When I send out email, I send out plain text email.
Mm-hmm.
When I get the e-zine from Ben Prater, it comes in HTML, and I just love that e-zine because it really looks nice, and it's well formatted, and I read it religiously.
Sure.
But I've got this love-hate relationship with receiving HTML. But very in marketing, you should make the decision not so much on how you feel, but how the statistics bear up with your target audience. So I came across this very interesting statistic about HTML versus plain text email. And do you know what? Out of the business community, 66.8% preferred, in a study done in April 2003, 66.8% preferred HTML to plain text.
I read that same study.
Really?
Yes, I did. I read it.
Shows that good minds always,
it's kind of funny because I've read it within the past 2 weeks.
Mm.
And but yeah, I read the same study. They had everything broken down and who liked it the most, and Ralph Wilson. That's where I read the study.
Yeah,
I think.
Right. It's on his.
It's on his site.
WilsonWeb.com.
Yeah, I think it's just. Is it Wilson Web? Yeah,
WilsonWeb.com.
WilsonWeb.com. You can see the study there. But
actually, to get to the study, you might have to go to this /WMT8/email_format_preferences.
Yeah, I think if you click from the main page, you can get.
Yeah, you can probably find it somewhere.
But it's again funny that you mentioned that, because I spent the better part of my day today designing my HTML newsletter template.
Oh, really? Wow.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been designing it today, and because Corey Rudel just put out a new book on email marketing. And a few things in there, and one of the things he suggested was HTML, and so I read that, and then plus I read a few other things, and the Wilson study was one of them, and I started receiving a few different e-zines. The guys, Matt Gill and Kevin Wilkie from Nitrostats, I know has been coming to me in HTML email, and a few others have been coming to me in HTML as well too. I know Marlon Sanders, a lot of times he sends his information out in HTML, and
all the time.
And so I was like, I've been using the Autoresponder Plus system recently, and which is great, by the way, and it looks pretty easy to do. So I said, well, maybe it's time I joined the bandwagon here.
Well, I'm glad you're not going to argue with me on this one, because I know you had mentioned that maybe HTML was not going to be used in email in the future, and I don't know if that's true, and that's due to the spam situation.
Yeah,
but right at the moment, it gives you an advantage because they can't filter out free and new and all those other words that they like to filter out.
Yeah, and that's that brings up a good topic too, because one of the things that the spam filters. Here's a quick way that I figured to get around a spam filter. It's so simple.
Use a telephone.
Well, that's one. But this is so simple. I mean, I'm surprised no one's ever really thought about it, or at least if they did, they didn't say anything to anybody. They didn't tell me. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Don't use words. Okay.
Don't use words?
Don't use words. I mean, it sounds kind of cryptic, but here's what I mean. What you do
say it with flowers.
No. What you do, you send an HTML email, but everything is in a graphic.
Oh, yeah.
So you're sending them a picture, basically, and you can write anything you want. I can write free all day long, and it's not going to get captured by a spam tool as long as that person accepts HTML email.
Right.
But that's the way that you get around the spam filters.
Well, now, some people I know are sitting back saying, well, I like this idea about doing HTML, but I just don't know how to do it. Well,
it's true.
I've got the answer here. I've got a little link that will explain exactly how you can do this. It's not my link, it's just if you go to addme.com, that's addme.com /issue293.htm, okay? I'll repeat it in a second, but what it's called is How to Create and Send HTML Email. And it will explain how you do that and how you put it together and compose an HTML email, because some people probably don't know how to do it. It's not exactly straightforward, but it's described here. Again, the URL is www.addme.com /issue ISSUE293.htm. No L on the end of that. And that will tell you how to do it. It's the 293rd issue of the ADME newsletter.
Let's do that. I'm actually on the page right now. I just read through it, and it's a short article, and it's simple, straight to the point, though.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff.
Great.
Sounds good. Well,
so that's all I've got.
Unless
you want to open it to questions.
I think there's too many people to open it for questions.
Okay.
I
know Jeanette wants to ask questions.
It'll be a nightmare. Jeanette doesn't need to ask any questions. She's happy right now.
Oh, okay, yeah. She comes up. Yeah.
But I know you're gonna talk about a lot of at the seminar itself. You're going to be talking a lot about some of the new brand new techniques. I mean, literally that you haven't even told me about.
Right.
And
I haven't told you about this one, and I ain't telling you about it because I'm saving it for the big seminar. Because if I tell you about it, you're going to tell everybody else about it, and then everybody at the seminar is going to be talking about it.
I have a reputation for spilling the beans, huh?
You do, yeah. Well, if you want to know anything, call Armand. He's got the skinny on everything, except this.
Except this. This is the one I don't know about.
You don't know about this one.
Yeah, so I'll have to figure that out. But you're going to be talking about a lot of different things. I know you're working on several different campaigns for several people right now, and you're testing some new ideas, some new techniques that you're going to be talking about there as well as some here, folks. This is something that you need to understand is that even though people like Carl they test and try these new techniques, they're using sound principles. That, in fact, the principles that Carl uses, believe it or not, I mean, I know this because I talked to Carl, a lot over the past year, and the principles that he uses are not new principles, believe it or not. They may be new techniques, but they're not new principles. They're based on solid, business principles, copywriting principles that from the early 1900s.
Some of them, yeah.
Some of them, and some a little bit newer, but the fact is that he bases everything on solid principles that work. You see, techniques and tactics come and go, but solid principles are here to stay, and they'll work today and they'll work tomorrow as well too.
Everybody ought to have read Scientific Advertising at least 7 times. David Ogilvy said 7 times. Jay Abraham told me that he used to give it. He read it like 50 or 60 times. Then he started buying copies and handing it out to friends, customers, clients. And he was disappointed because they weren't quite as zealous as he was. They weren't reading it 50 or 60 times. But it's a wealth of knowledge. It was written back in the early 1900s. And you can get a free copy of it by going to scientificadvertising.com. And if you go there, you can click on a download, and you can download it for free.
Sounds good. In fact, it's kind of funny because as we were going through the whole call, I was actually had tested advertising techniques by John Cables.
Tested advertising methods.
Methods. That's it.
The book.
Is that John Cables?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that actually on my screen earlier today. I just closed the window 2 seconds ago, actually. Because I and it's kind of funny because I'm actually going back and I'm reading all these classic things that copywriters I hear you talk about and other people talk about. Now I'm going back and buying all these books or downloading them somewhere on the internet, for free to study what worked back then, so I can certainly become a better copywriter than what I am. Certainly not the greatest. I'm not a Carl Galletti. Let's put it that way.
Well, but you got a bigger bank account than me, so that counts for more of it. I think you've got something there, even if it's not right.
Well, you want to know the Armin Morin secret?
You compensate with other things. Maybe.
You want to know the secret technique?
What is the secret technique?
The secret technique to making money on the internet is that if you throw enough traffic at someone's going to buy it.
Yeah.
If you just throw enough traffic, someone's going to buy it. That's the hard way to do it.
Right, exactly.
But it does work if you can do it.
The spam guys do it that way.
The spam guys do it.
What they haven't realized is that if they had even a slight amount of technique to what they were doing, they'd be able to double, triple, and probably increase the results by 100 times. But they're they do all right, I guess.
It's amazing. I never even knew I never even knew you owned this website.
Yeah, I got it recently, in fact.
I think I know
somebody who owned it before let it lapse.
Yeah, I think I know who owned it before, I believe.
Really? Who?
I think it was Jaden Bates.
I don't know who Jaden Bates is.
I'm not sure. But it's that's great. That's awesome. It's a great domain name. So, folks, again, we just spent 60 minutes with Carl Galletti. And, again, Carl is one of our speakers at the big seminar. He's going to be presenting a lot of information to you at the seminar. He's going to have an hour and a half, so just going into details and about different methods, different techniques, different principles as far as marketing, advertising, copywriting, and you're going to learn a lot of information. I mean, I've learned a lot of information from Carl since I've met him. I mean, the first day I met him.
Yeah, look at all the money you're making now.
Exactly.
Where's my royalty?
See, that's the thing. See, that's the one thing that people should be aware of is always be aware of the contracts that you go into from the beginning.
Well, one of the advantages of going to the big seminar is that I'm going to teach you all this stuff, and you don't need to pay me a percentage.
Yeah, that's a good point because again, many copywriters, like yourself and other people, they not only write the ad copy for you and charge you a huge fee to do it, and then they charge you a percentage on the back end of all the sales as well too. And
right, and we're worth every penny of it too.
It's definitely worth.
But if you can learn this yourself and do it yourself, you're way ahead of the game.
Exactly. So so Carl's going to go into details about all this information for you at the seminar. He's going to spend a lot of time. What's even more about that is you're going to see Carl for an hour and a half in front of you up on stage. But the fact is that you can go up to Carl in the hall. You can eat lunch with him. You can
they
sit
got to
down.
buy lunch if they want to do that.
They don't even have to buy lunch because I'm buying lunch for everybody.
Oh, okay, great.
I'm buying dinner the whole time.
That's even better.
I'm buying dinner for everybody too. So
right.
So they don't even have to worry about that. Have lunch on me. Pick Carl's brains and it's a simple technique and techniques that Carl talks about. It's not complicated, but you have to know what to do. And that's where someone like Carl will be able to show you step by step what to do. Pick his brains the whole time you're there. And that's the most important part is that relationship that you build with people and what you can get out of it. And not only, the speakers like Carl and many of the other speakers there, but the people that are going to be sitting next to you in the audience. And again, it's just amazing to me. I mean, I see the names coming in for the seminar, as far as the people, who they are and what they're doing. It's just shocking. I mean, to see some of the names that are going to be sitting in the audience next to you. So when you get to the seminar, what you need to do is, introduce yourself to the people on both sides, in front and in back of you, because you never know who's going to be sitting around with you. Could be a multimillionaire, and there's several multimillionaires in the audience at the seminar. 100%, not just guaranteed, but I know one for a fact that they're going to be there. But there's going to be a lot of information shared at the seminar. Again, here's what the deal is. It's August 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. It's in San Francisco. It's at the Airport Marriott. We got a great event, a great lineup of people. People, again, as you just heard from Carl Galletti, many of our other speakers that I mentioned earlier in the call, they're all going to be there sharing their best information, teaching you how to succeed on the Internet, literally from email marketing to website design to copywriting techniques like we heard a little bit of today. Just literally everything that there is. I mean, I'm going to be talking about stuff that I haven't talked to anybody about, and including Carl. So
really? Well, I'm going to be paying attention.
I'm holding some stuff back. And there's some things
about fair play, huh?
There's some things that I've been trying to keep some things shut down on recently that I'm going to be talking about at the seminar. That I get so excited I like to share it with everybody, but I'm trying to keep it for the seminar. Not the cat out of the bag yet, but I can tell you this: it is about email marketing. What I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to tell you exactly what works 100% to the detail. And I'm not only going to show you, I'm going to prove it to you. While we're there as well. So it's going to be an interesting study that we're going to do while we're there as well. A lot of different things. Here's what I want you to do, though, is it's very simple. You click on the link that the person that sent you to the call. Click on the link. Then when you get there, read the website. It answers all your questions right on the website. If you have any questions, here's what you need to do. Is send an email to support@bigseminar.com. They'll answer your question, get it back to you within usually a few minutes, and then click on the button at the bottom of the page, and then here's the next step. Fill in your information and click the submit button, and you're going to be registered for the seminar. It's that easy. It's quick. It's simple. You'll be registered in the next few minutes. It's not very complicated at all. Now, Carl made an offer to the people that were on his list, and I'm going to make another offer for everybody as well. If you go ahead and purchase your seat to the seminar today, or I should say, let's say before Thursday, before our next call on Thursday, what I'm going to do is these recordings that you hear us doing, all these calls with all the speakers, okay, that's about 13 calls with each and every one of the speakers that we've been interviewing for the past few weeks and then into the beginning of the seminar as well too. Each one of these calls, I'm not only going to give these calls to you, I'm going to give you the rights to market these calls.
Hey, that's a good deal. Do I get in on that too?
You get in on that one. You get
on
this one.
All right.
So you get the calls. Not only do you get the call, it's a complete business in a box. And what I mean by that is that you get the audios that you can market. It's going to be formatted for you on not only on CD, you're going to get them all on a CD. Also, you're going to receive a website for it. The website's going to be completely written and ready for you to do. The only thing that you need to do is put it onto your host and then change the order button. Now, how much would you expect something like this to go for? Well, we're going to edit out everything that talks about these commercials that we give in the beginning and at the end and things of that nature as much as possible within reason, let's put it that way. And then there's the back end built into it. The back end is the big seminar tapes from the seminar that you're going to be at. The tapes and the videos, you're going to be able to have a back end product. So the initial price, what I'm going to recommend to people as suggested price is about $97 for these tapes. That means $97 you sell it for, what do you keep? $97 because you own the rights to it. Now, normally something like this would go for several $1,000s as far as the pricing goes, and especially to get all these different people onto these calls, I mean, that's a feat in itself. Trust me.
How many hours?
It's going to be 13 hours.
13 hours. Wow. 13
hours of audio. That's 1 hour with every one of the speakers on the call. So, but if you go ahead, I'm going to give you a complete business in a box big seminar preview series. If you order through calls, I think he's got the whole deal for you. So, again, you can contact Carl or click on the link that you referred to. But everyone that orders between now and Thursday is going to receive the rights to this, and they're going to be given to them on a CD at the seminar. It's very simple. What you do, again, go to thebigseminar.com, click on the link that the person had sent you, click the order button, place your order, and if you're on by Thursday, you're going to receive the rights to this. I've done this 3 times now, and so there's some people on this call that already have the rights to this. If you've already signed up for the seminar and you're listening to this, you get them too. Don't worry. They're automatically going to be included. They're going to be ready for you there. So, again, if you do between now and Thursday, you're going to get that offer, and that's anybody who orders through whoever's link, doesn't matter, you're going to get that deal. So that's another bonus. So if you're on Carl's list, you get an extra bonus. And anybody who orders is going to get this bonus as well, too. The important part is that you do it today because we're 30 days out, and this is when you get the best airfare to it. And I'm pushing the hotel right now to get extra rooms at the hotel. And we've reserved a lot of rooms at the hotel. There's 600 rooms, and I've already taken up about a third of them, okay? So we're running out of rooms. In fact, with as many people that are planning to attend, we're going to take up about half the hotel, and we're going to be having to go into another hotel as well, too. That's the way it looks like it right now.
Which hotel was this?
It's the Airport Marriott in San Francisco. Airport Marriott, San Francisco. It's right on the bay, gorgeous hotel, and we got plenty of space there. The deal is, though, is that you need to register your room early. As soon as you sign up for the seminar, you're going to receive a welcome email that's going to tell you the airport, what the number is to call the hotel, and it's also going to give you the big seminar code in order to get your room discount. We also made deals with American Airlines to give you a discount on the airfare to get out there. We also made deals with I think it's Alamo. I just want to make sure. I think it's Alamo Rent-A-Car. It's on the website. I forgot. But to actually give you a discount on your car rental if you need one there. You don't need a car once you get there, though, really, because when you get to the airport's exactly 1 mile from the airport. Well, I should say the Airport Marriott is 1 mile from the airport, so you can take a shuttle directly to the hotel. We're right there. It's going to work out great. So, Carl, I'd like to thank you for being with us tonight on the call.
You're welcome.
And, again, I look forward to definitely hearing your big secret at the big seminar. And then so I can be filled in on that. But, folks, again, there's time is running out. The seminar is being filled rather rapidly, especially in the last few days. And you can be there. You can hear all this live. You can meet Carl live. You can sit down with him. I'd love to meet everybody in person right there at the seminar. Got a lot of great things going on, a lot of teaching going on, and there's a lot of benefit to you. And it comes down to one decision, and you're going to hear me say this over and over again because it's 100% absolutely true. Any success that you have in life, in business, comes down to just one single decision, and that is to do it. So if you're deciding to come to the seminar, just do it. And then we'll see you all in San Francisco. So everyone have a great night, and we'll talk to everyone on Thursday. And if you're on the list, you'll be notified of the next seminar on Thursday night. Everyone have a great night. Bye-bye.